Hey, this is a quick screen record just to show how you can do scattering of buildings in Maya using Mesh. I would say you should probably just do this for like further away ones, which are low poly, with a flat texture, that sort of thing. But we can add in loads of them really easy. So this is going to be our render cam, or our final, view of everything. What you want to do is you want to put your low polygon buildings in the origin. So I built this to real world scale, so these are absolutely massive. And there's a guy, so you can see that that's a 6 foot man. If I zoom out, big buildings. Okay, so then you put your buildings right in the origin, freeze transformations, which is spacebar, modify, freeze transformations. So this is all zeroed out and it's flat on the grid. Now select all your buildings and hold down spacebar, go to Mesh, create Mesh network. And because we've selected a few things at the same time, it creates a Mesh ID, but normally it would just create, if you select one thing, it would create a Mesh distribute. You'll see the buildings are now hidden, and then we have a Mesh repro mesh. That is basically the initial sort of instance, or whatever you want to call it, of the buildings that will be made. So what we now do is we click on Mesh and let's go to the ID. So the ID is the count. So we have 4 things, but by default it's 1. So we have 4 buildings. So let's put this to 4. And then you have the ID type, and that just means which ones it will run through. If you do linear, it will view them in a sort of 1 to 4 manner, but we just want random. And then we can go to distribute and then change the type, and we want mesh. So I've made a ground plane, which is just flat polygon. So we middle mouse drag and drop from the outliner, and now we can see, so we had 4 as the number of points by default, but now as we increase that, we now have 100 of them. So that's a pretty quick way of doing that. And then I guess if you've got if you just want like huge amounts of buildings and you make super low poly ones, you could just put that something crazy like 1,000 and just have them as background buildings. I don't know, that's just an idea. You can get some really interesting results, and in the Mesh menu there is a lot of different settings that you could play with. So you just click on one and you add it as a node, and then it will just add another menu icon that you can play around with. But there's a lot of different settings in here, and then within the IDs.